Hello, my name is Jack. Welcome to DeVance. We will be unboxing the C2700 from McIntosh. Let's dive in. All right, so shipping weight of this guy is about 45 pounds or so. The unit weight itself is only 29 and a half. And this is a preamplifier from McIntosh. Special note about this piece specifically is that it is a tube-driven preamplifier, not your typical solid state that we see in a lot of spots. So as we open the box, you see a lot of this foam kind of packing these around. For a lot of these, preamplifiers and some of the smaller components that McIntosh sells, they tend to really just not go as crazy as they do on the amps. Some of the amps, they actually bolt down to the actual plywood board that is shipped with them. Thank you so much. And you need to do a full, disassembly of those items. You don't need to as much with these, which is nice. It saves a lot of time, but still very, very well put together. This is the first kind of layer of defense or so. And so what we'll be doing is just cutting these pieces on the sides. Remember, if you're buying one of these units, save these boxes. Trust me, we've made that mistake before. McIntosh, when you're shipping them back for any service or repairs, you could be looking at, a little bit of money just to get that box back. So I just throw this one in the attic and call it a day. All right. So open up the flap, expose everything. This whole piece kind of unfolds like this. And then we have the owner's manual sitting on top, as always. Set that to the side for right now. We have these foam pieces surrounding the top of the unit. In the back, we have McIntosh's remote right here. We want to open that up because we have a million of them. We have another power cable as well, supplied by McIntosh. And then a little bag of silica down at the bottom. A great little snack. All right, we'll take this unit out real quick, very carefully. And as with all of these McIntosh pieces, they are all wrapped in lots and lots of plastic. So we're going to start at the side right here. Take that tape off. And start unpeeling this thing. And this is the unit right here. All right, with the C2700 kind of propped up on this table, I want to highlight some of the front pieces on the front of this unit. Obviously, first off, we have the power button right there, a mute button, the tone controls as well, because this has bass and treble controls that you can just toggle on and off. Output 2, output 1. It has the HXD headphone drive from McIntosh. You got the input, and then you got the volume knobs right there. When we hit the power button, these tubes start to glow this nice, beautiful amber, and as they get to their final progression, they'll turn green when you're ready to listen to it. And if we look right here, it also says tube is warming up. These guys need about 10 seconds or so to really get to where they want to be. You don't want to run the tubes when they're super cold, and so this is kind of a safety setting. All of these tubes in here, these are all supplied by McIntosh. They're super high quality, but in the world of hi-fi and whatnot, lots of people like switching these pieces out. That's not too difficult to do. It's pretty easy. But what we'll do is kind of take a look through this unit itself. As we press the input on the left side, this gives us control of the different things we can do. We got input trim, tone controls, bass, if we turn those tone controls on, same thing with the treble. We can set this in mono or stereo. The meter lights, we can turn those off or on with the volume knob. The tube lights, we can turn those off or on if we want to, although you should never turn them off. The display brightness, we can also adjust that piece as well, and then you can set the balance for this unit as well. You cannot rename the inputs on some of the other ones, some of the other preamplifiers and integrated amplifiers that McIntosh provides, but most people are really using this for like a single input, single output. So we're going to flip the unit around right here and highlight some of these inputs on the back of it. So big takeaway right here, your main output right here, this is really the star of the show. This is where everything's running through it. This is where you're going to plug in your amplifiers and go from there. You also have output 1, output 2. These are just designated on the front of the unit, right here. Let's say you wanted to have speakers in another room playing. You could just plug those up to output 2 and run a whole nother zone of audio through that. We have 3 sets of balanced inputs, 4 sets of unbalanced inputs. We have a fixed output right here. We have some phono inputs for moving magnet and moving coil with the grounds on both of those. We have triggers for various pieces in here, a service port for really updating the unit itself, and then another special piece down here. This is the DA2 module from McIntosh. This is upgradable if you have an older unit that maybe doesn't have this, but the DA1 was the predecessor to this. This really adds in, a couple of optical ports, a couple of, digital coax ports, the USB audio if you're really wanting to run a streamer that has USB audio through that, and then HDMI ARC, which is really nice. Almost every TV has this nowadays, but it's really nice to kind of, say, hey, I have this amazing 2-channel setup. I just want to run this and, just listen to music and play audio from my TV through my speakers. It's super simple. Just put it on ARC. Change the input to ARC, and you are golden. It's that simple. Another important part of this is that via these triggers on the back, you actually have the pass-through right here. And so what this allows you to do is run this piece, really controlling 2 speakers, your front, left, and right for like a home theater setup, and still get all the benefits of this preamplifier, but using something like an audio processor that you would layer on top of everything. Since this only has those 2 channels, you would really need something that could do, your 5.1, your 7.1, your 11.6.12, whatever you wanted to do, you could really run it through there. Some cool facts about this piece: the switching for all of these inputs is done with extreme precision, but the craziest part of this is, this is from McIntosh, that they were kind of educating us on this, but every time you switch right here, they kind of found out that those little switching pieces, they tend to, get a little tiny bit of rust on them over time, and then, they tend to not switch as clearly, or they tend to give some distortion. And so they said, well, what's the best way to switch these? And they went to a nuclear, reactor factory and found I can't even say it without looking at my notes. It's basically an argon-filled glass capsule with ruthenium. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. It's just a switching nodule that has the highest conductive material on Earth inside of it, and then it has argon gas filled around it so that it will never rust ever in its entire life. And that's for every single one of these pieces. It's not even a super expensive piece, but that's what helps these units stay alive forever, is that you don't really have any of those issues. And so a few notes about tube amplifiers specifically, or tube preamplifiers, is that sometimes these, these tubes do go out, and they're not always, going to say, hey, this is a lifetime piece. The rest of this unit is a lifetime piece. These tubes you may need to replace throughout the lifetime of the equipment. Maybe that's 5 years, 10 years from now, but it is something to be aware of. A cool unit, or a cool little piece about this unit, is that it is a 2-chassis piece right here. And so all of the switching and all of the sensitive components actually live in this upper chassis. And then this is where all the power control comes from right here. And so something that doesn't need to have, the lowest distortion possible and really the high voltage side, this is all going to be down here in this lower part. And those switching nodules that we were talking about earlier, that's all going to live up here. So that is the C2700 unboxing, a little bit of information about it too. I think this is an amazing unit. We have one actually sitting in the back. This is attached to some 125K monoblocks from McIntosh, and then we have some Sonos Faber speakers and whatnot. But this is an extremely good unit that you will not need to upgrade for a very long time. The distortion on this is only 0.08%. For a tube preamplifier, that's incredible. You don't need to have that 0.0005 or 0.005 that McIntosh has for everything else. Distortion is not all equal everywhere across the board, and sometimes the distortion from tubes gives us that beautiful sound that we're always chasing. So Thank you for watching. Please come check us out. Look on our website, DeVance.tv, and leave some comments. We love interacting with you guys, seeing what you guys are thinking, and kind of what you think of this unit itself. If you guys have one, if you've listened to one before, or if you would be interested in listening to one too, give us a shout. Thank you.